Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now here's Jay.
Yeah, here I am, and I do endorse this program. So there. Oh, there's more music coming back. Is that because of what I said? I don't know. But welcome to the Educated Retirement Radio here on KMET 1490 AM, where we contemplate retirement and how to best stay prepared for that retirement and how to best stay successfully retired. And if you're not quite retired yet, like I aren't, it's still how to get ready for that. So please call, email, or visit www.drheckham.com, just like it shows right here, DRHECM. And you can always use, like the radio show says, theeducatedretirement.com, right there. So if not, then give me a call or do both. And there is my number, 866-955-2233. Yeah, that is the number. I even remembered it. But have at it. And why should you call that? Because knowledge is power. So when you go over to drheckham.com or theeducatedretirement.com, you used to need to put the Educated Retirement Radio, but I fixed that. You can, either way, it all goes there. So be sure to jump down halfway down the front page, and you can see the YouTube channel, or you can link to the YouTube channel. You can also link to this show and anybody else's show that's been on KMET. But you can go there quickly to watch this show live. There is a lot of shows on there, and I don't take too long getting them because Sean, our engineer, sends me the videos pretty quickly, so I get them up there pretty quickly. And remember, 866-955-2233, where knowledge is power. And my day job is at the Loan Source. That's the name of the company. My NMLS number is 384565, and I do not sell real estate, but I am equipped with a license to answer questions or to send you to whoever I think might be able to give you some good advice. And that number is 792-630. Today is National Cream Pie Day, and I had a chocolate cream pie earlier I was going to use for the show, but I already ate it all. Cream pies, well, let me just put it this way. Any kind of pie does not last too long. And what kind of pie did we have last night? It was apple crumb, and boy, it was good. Today is also National Electric Guitar Day. And this is also Jimi Hendrix's birthday, but we'll get more into that in a little bit. It's also Red Planet Day, that acknowledges the launching of Mariner 4 back in 1964. And we have, what's the name of the one headed for Mars now? We'll be there in about 5 months.
Perseverance.
Perseverance is persevering its way to Mars right now. And we will come back to Mars and the rat, bat, spider in a few minutes here. Remember, though, that we do believe in challenging the status quo. Families and people need to be active, not reactive. And in case you forgot, it is the Educated Retirement that you're listening to here on your home planet, KMET, the Mighty Met. And who else's birthday is it today? It is Jimi Hendrix's birthday. And I'm just going to show this to start with. Yes, I have other Jimi Hendrix albums, and probably maybe you and your family also does. But this is one that came out not very long ago, and it features just blues, straight blues kind of recordings, and that was, I guess, earlier, or things that were not published before that. Nice little booklet comes with it. I feel like I'm one of those YouTube channels that opens records for people, but you know, I do recommend that record. It's not super easy to find because it's not mainstream type Hendrix, but it is really good. And although his mainstream career, speaking of mainstream, lasted only about 4 years, he is recognized as one of the most influential electric guitarists in the history of popular music, or maybe just in the history of music. So as a young boy, he found a ukulele in a pile of trash with only one string. And learning to play by ear, he played only single notes, but he sure got to know which one was which. At the age of 15, he acquired his first guitar for $5 and played for hours listening to blues artists. The first song he learned to play was the theme from Peter Gunn, which is kind of bluesy. Just to let you know, this is one of the best of all of, I think, Mancini's works, and he did so many that are just great. That's the almost the original. I've got about 10 of these, so one of them's more original than the others, and one of them is also a very special, heavy printing. I also got this to show. It's exactly the same. Everything is the same except for the color on the cover. And there's another one called More Music from Peter Gunn. But I have a note on the back here that says a very noisy record on both sides. Try not to play. And it's also warped, and it says must be replaced, but I've never found another one. So there. So, but anyway, eventually Jimmy, got a short gig with the Midnighters. After that, he was able to form his own his own band, and that was called the Velvetones. Sounds like a nice name, but the Velvet Touch doesn't exactly remind me of Jimi Hendrix. Anyway, after his time in the Army, he performed as a backup musician for Wilson Pickett, Sam Cooke, Ike and Tina Turner, and in 1964, he won first prize at the Apollo Theater's amateur contest. So after touring with Little Richard and the Isley Brothers, he went on to television appearances, concerts in London, I'm sure in this country also. London is actually England and Paris. Okay, we're talking about cities only, I guess. London and Paris, as well as Monterey Pops Festival and Woodstock, where he stole the show in many of those cases. He won the Lifetime Achievement Award, Grammy, in 1992, which was well past his lifetime, but at least he got that recognition. And his records have sold more than 30 million. Now, this next name, I remembered the name, but I couldn't quite place it for a little while. But yeah, famous. Buffalo Bob. And I think the Buffalo part of it came from him living in Buffalo. But he joined us in 1917 and left us in 1998. So he was a singing piano player and radio personality known for hosting the children's show Howdy Doody. So here he is with the puppet that was supposedly crafted to be a spitting image of his sister. Face. Okay, unlucky sister, but cute puppet. And just in case, there is Howdy Doody, not to be infused with Captain Howdy from The Exorcist, of course. So, what do you think? Do I look good that way? I can't. Anyway, that show, Howdy Doody, ran from 1947 to 1960. First children's show to win a Peabody Award. He started in radio in the early 40s and went on to WBEN in Buffalo, taking the place of a little-known DJ or master of ceremonies by the name of Jack Parr when Parr was drafted. So the audience of screaming kids was called the Peanut Gallery, with Buffalo Bob shouting the signature question, "Hey kids, what time is it?"
It's Howdy Doody time.
All right, that's the closest kid I got around. It's Howdy Doody time. And don't forget Clarabelle the Clown with his seltzer bottle. Now, I like seltzer bottles, but that doesn't help me much these days. There he is. I'm sure some of you remember, some of you obviously wouldn't. But there he is looking like that. And I also like this picture. He looked a little more human, earthy here.
That was Captain Kangaroo.
So, yeah, I mentioned Clarabelle. And he was the first actor to play Clarabelle, and his name is Bob Keeshan, Keeshan, who later became Captain Kangaroo. And the picture I showed you, the one picture, was of Captain Kangaroo. But here is a very important fact. William Shatner played Ranger Bob in the Canadian version of the show. So he played the main host for the Canadian version of Howdy Doody. Wow. Ranger, Captain Kangaroo, and Captain Kirk all come together in this very important note. So there. Also, the executive producer of that Canadian show, a guy by the name of Sidney Newman, then moved to England and joined the BBC to create shows like Doctor Who and The Avengers. But just so you don't forget William Shatner, I think I've shown this to you, but I'll take every excuse to show you any of these. See? And it also comes with a big poster signed electronically by him. But I hate to leave one out without his partner, right? Leonard Nimoy. Now, music from outer space. What do you think? And show another nice picture of him there. And of course, we have the 1701 here, which is a reference to Forbidden Planet, and we've gone over that in the past, but we won't right now. Marshall Thompson was also born in 1925 and left us in 1992, an American film and television actor that was in over 50 television roles and movie roles. He attended high school in Maryland Monroe and enrolled at Occidental College to study dentistry, and his only real successful extraction was dropping out of acting. That's a better way. Pulling out of dental school and into acting. And he starred in horror and science fiction films that I really like. This is one of the best you'll ever find anywhere. It's a Criterion copy of Fiend Without a Face. It's got these brains with the spinal stems coming out and moving. It's really cool. I mean, that is cool. There's also First Man in Space, which, there you go. And he also played in It, The Terror Beyond Space. And that film is said to be the film that inspired Ridley Scott to make Alien. And just to show you, not that you see much here, remember when Alien was only 4 films? Well, that's what that goes back to. 4 films. Now we have 6, and we'll talk about those other 2 at another time. There's more to say about Robert L. Kahn, Kahn, the director of It, The Terror from Outer Space, but that's going to have to wait, except for a few short reminders. And here's another one he did, Reptilicus. Okay. Oh, love that picture. Invasion of the Saucer Men. Okay. And one of our all-time favorites, The Angry Red Planet. And it's lovely rat, bat, spider. So, I mean, yeah, you know about that. You got to. If not, you better get caught up. Okay.
That's premiere. That's on this day.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, Thompson also did so much television, but what really surprised me, and I learned this quite a while ago, because of my familiarity with the movie roles that I always knew, was his huge interest in the preservation and health of wild animals. Therefore, his part in the television show Daktari was a lot more than just a television part. And I picked up that news from what I consider the most reliable source of such film material on television right now. No, not TCM, not even close. This is Sven Gulli, and that's Saturday night on MeTV. And, if you're not with it, you're not watching it, but otherwise you are. And a couple of honorable birthdays. Bill Nye, the science guy, came to us in 1955. And one I'm sorry I can't get to much because we're almost out of time is Bruce Lee, 1940. I have to 43. That's not quite right. That would only be 3 years old. Now he accomplished a lot, but not in those 3 years. So I'll get that corrected pretty soon. But this guy was a real trailblazer in the world of motion pictures. And I just didn't have the time after I found out about his birthday to get much for the show, but we can always get that pushed back in. So let me just throw in that just after the COVID scare and the lockdown brought home buying almost to a halt, home buying activity resumed with abandon. Means a lot. With low mortgage rates locked in and a desire for more space amid the pandemic, Americans flooded the housing market in search of new homes. Even now, winter, well, it's almost winter, home sales activity typically slows down at this time, but not now. Americans are still buying properties way ahead of last year's pace, or any other year's pace at this time, I would think. In many ways, the pandemic has driven this home buying craze. Experts say this has been an accelerant to lifestyle and behavior changes that were already underway. Case in point, the pandemic appears to have nudged the timeline forward for many millennials households who might have otherwise waited a few more years to become homeowners or to move up. Since the price of a home is dependent on interest rates, we're buying at good prices right now, whatever the price tag may say. So back at the start of the pandemic, most economists and mortgage industry experts didn't expect rates to drop below 3%, but that's just what happened. In the near term, mortgage rates are likely to stay low, so they may raise above the record lows that we've hit in recent weeks, and that's because the Federal Reserve has indicated that it doesn't plan to hike rates soon. In time, though, a vaccine would naturally cause rates to raise. It should be overall interest rates up. Why? Because it improves prospects, that is, a vaccine would improve prospects for economic growth. And this is the time to ask yourself those questions that in better times we just don't ask ourselves. We talked about that on a previous show, but it's time to look at life insurance, more of it, yes or no. How about that heck'em? Remember, you get to put more on the shelf without losing equity when rates are the lowest and the home values are the highest. Do you really know what will happen to home prices in the post-COVID era? And with that, we do have Angry Red Planet to talk about that opened. It was a masterpiece that took 9 years to do, and it was done in what was called Cinemagic, which is just hand-drawn animation and solarization. Give me that rat bat spider I showed before, but I'm getting ready to show it again, and we are also more than that. I just let you know the same director as Angry Red Planet did the screenplay for Robinson Crusoe at Mars, so just do not go away. We will be right back with Jon Daurio as our guest, and we're going to talk about mortgage, economists, and he's a little bit of all of those and an attorney. Stay with us. Thanks so much. I like that music, so I should shut up, let it go for a little bit more on the minor key, bluesy. Yeah, I like that. Anyway, we're back on the Educated Retirement Show here on KMET, the Mighty Met, and we have a very special guest with us, this time, Jon Daurio. And we will get into more of Jon in just not very long, really. And we'll let him introduce himself and then tell a little bit more. I mean, he is an attorney, so he's an esquire. Remember, he is a real live esquire, and but he also has a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience in lending law, the mortgage business in general, and in the past has owned some very varying, in case he gets shy, which I don't think I've ever known him to be, but he did own a fairly large mortgage company at one time, and is in the process, I believe, of getting another one right off the ground, and we'll do that. But let me just sign it over to Jon right now to say hello and give a little of his background.
Hi, Jay. Hello, everyone. My name is Jon Daurio. I appreciate the kind words, Jay. Yeah, I have a fairly extensive background in mortgage banking. Just quickly, educationally, I have a degree from Harvard in econometrics. Took a year off and worked on Wall Street as a muni bond underwriter. Then came out to California, went to USC and got my JD and my MBA. Practiced law with Latham & Watkins, then eventually opened my own firm. After that, I became general counsel for my largest client, which was Long Beach Savings and Loan. Long Beach Savings and Loan went through many iterations, became Long Beach Bank, Long Beach Mortgage Company, and then finally AmeriQuest. But back in the late 80s, Long Beach, along with a couple of other Orange County-based lenders, were the originators of B and C lending. In those days, there were no credit scores, and so people were credit risked based on the alphabet A, B, C, and D, where A were great borrowers that could have loans sold to Fannie and Freddie. D were people that went to hard money lenders that lent just based on the value of the home. B and C was that middle part, and the B and C industry flourished. In 1998, I left the Long Beach family of companies to form my first company, LFC. From there, I formed 4 more mortgage banking entities, one of which was Encore Credit, which became one of the nation's largest subprime wholesale companies. And then a company that still thrives today, Condor Capital, which I founded and was the chairman and CEO and helped build it, that is still the premier buyer and manager of non-performing loans. You mentioned I'm in the process of forming Nickel Home Loans. Nickel is spelled funny. It's Nikkael, because it's an amalgamation of my 2 children's names, Nikki and Michael. And Nickel Home Loans will initially be a mortgage broker, but we will be doing all loans secured by 1 to 4 family residences. Professionally, as I said, I'm an attorney. I also hold professional licenses as a property and casualty insurance broker, a real estate broker, and a notary public. So I've got a fairly detailed background, but my heart really is in mortgage banking. And as a serial entrepreneur, I greatly enjoy building companies.
I like that, serial entrepreneur. I like that a lot. Let me tell. I know I'm not the one here to talk, but I want to get one thing straight with our audience. When things come up and talk about subprime, some of our audience only know subprime from such movies as The Big Short, which I don't think represented us quite that well. I really like, speaking of movies, and that's what I do the first half hour usually, I like Margin Call quite a bit better. But let me tell you, back in the day, in the 80s, 90s, things like that, subprime, and that then we're not allowed to use that word anymore, but subprime was made up of good people. And those were turned out to be, because I did quite a few of those also, not as many as you were with. I was selling to some such people as, believe it or not, Ames Home Loan, and then Countrywide was a lot. But these were people that were so appreciative of the loans they got. They were usually good people that had a problem. They got through their problem. They were working through it. We helped them work through it. We did a great thing. And I think the industry did a great thing. There was a time after the turn of this last century, and I'm not going to get into details because I was there to some degree, and well, you know what happened. And, kind of in the way that reverse mortgages have had a bum rap for 40 years now. Well, for more than 40 years, but that loan program they got the bum rap for, went away in the early 80s. So when people think of subprime or less than perfect credit, it gets a bad rap, and really it shouldn't.
I can't agree with you more, Jay. Back in the day, in C, which became subprime, was built to find credit for people that couldn't obtain credit secured by their home because they had a bad credit history. But they still had plenty of income and equity in their home. And actually, that's something that in the future, I hope Nickel Home Loans will be able to bring to market a new, old product, because there are so many people today that can't get a loan because they have too low a credit score.
I think our whole economy rests on a lot of what you just said being true.
I think a lot of the people that I deal with that I've been, because as I said, I've been doing brokering loans recently, a lot of my applicants are aware that their credit score diminishes if they're late on their payments, if they have collections, if they have a foreclosure or a bankruptcy. But not a lot of borrowers realize that if they have a lot of consumer debt, if they carry a lot of credit card debt, if they have one or two car loans, things like that also diminish their credit score. And they also don't realize that when they have many credit cards upon which they keep balances, sometimes they'll keep a high utilization, which is the amount of the balance on the credit card relative to the credit available, because it's a low interest rate credit card, not realizing that that hurts their credit.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep your score as high as possible. You want to try to have as low a utilization as possible.
So spread it out, right?
Spread it out, absolutely.
Yeah. I call it the temptation factor, and it's very important when it comes to credit scores.
And so therefore, if they're trying to take advantage of the equity that they have in their home and are trying to get a loan, a lot of times that credit score won't help or will keep them from being able to qualify. With the onset of this pandemic, where there were loans available for people with a credit score below 620, it's almost impossible to get a loan now with sub 620 credit score if it's your owner-occupied property. If it's an investment property, then it could be considered a business loan, right. But they're still very expensive. The interest rates on those loans are 7, 8, 9, 10%. But people that get into a credit situation because of life, they have a medical issue, they have a divorce, they have the death of a breadwinner or something like that. And as a result, during that time period, they have late payments or collections or whatever happens. Their credit score drops precipitously. And a lot of times the drop in the credit score may simply be because they take on debt. They live on their credit cards or things like that. And now that they're carrying so much consumer debt, they're unable to climb out of that credit hole. And that's why I think that credit scoring, although 90% of the time does very well in predicting what the performance of a borrower will be, there's probably that, and I'm pulling it out of air, but 10% of the time that credit score really unnecessarily and unfairly penalizes great borrowers, as I say, who have a great amount of income and a great amount of equity in their property.
Yeah, you can even go back and find a collection that's 4 or 5 years old, pay it off, and that will lower your score, right?
Yep, it's crazy, and a lot of people think that they should close all of their credit cards once they pay them off. And what I tell people is one of the things that they should do, and if they have the liquidity, meaning the cash available to them, is after they've paid off their credit card, still use it modestly, but if you can, pay it off every night. I have experimented with it myself. I've experimented it with my clients. People at the lower end have the greatest movement. I've seen people move 100 points on their credit score, where normally they just paid their credit card before interest came due. But once they started paying off their credit card balance every night, their score went up by more than 100 points. So it's these little things that can really help somebody to be able to borrow. But one of the things that, your expertise, Jay, for people that are in that credit bind, if they're fortunate enough to be 62 or older.
Say that again. Fortunate enough to be an old guy, yeah.
Well, because the federal government wants to give them a phenomenal entitlement, which is that reverse mortgage. And I'm on the same page as you. I think that reverse mortgage is a fantastic product, especially if the senior, the person 62 or older, cannot qualify to refinance to take advantage of the forward mortgage low interest rates. But even the interest rates on reverse mortgages are at historical lows right now.
Yeah, they're under 3. So
Yeah.
in many, many cases. So now I don't know whether or not you are planning to do, and you don't need to answer this now because to do reverse mortgages with your new company. But if you do, I want you to feel absolutely welcome back on the show for anything. I have other people on the show that also do reverse mortgages, and I sincerely feel that the shortcoming on reverse mortgages is the education that's out there. So what's good for you is also good for me. And while we're on the subject of you, why don't we take a minute here for you to give the your information on how to get a hold of you, etc.
Sure. The company again is Nickel Home Loans, Nikkael. Actually, I'm the best way to reach me is you can call our toll-free number, which is 888-715-0001. Or just I have no problem giving out my cell phone. My direct line to my cell phone is 714-742-3854. And I encourage you to call me or text me, and I'm more than happy to provide free consultation with respect to any questions that somebody might have with respect to any type of mortgage.
Because you are an Esquire, right?
I am a lawyer,
but
and
not only in name. I know for a fact you keep very current.
Thank you. I do. I still have a small practice for some of my best clients that I've kept over the years, but I do remain current. As I say, I have that current license in the state of California. But a lot of times people just have questions. They don't know to whom they could go for just general questions. And that's where I encourage people to reach out to me about how mortgages work.
Yeah.
And which I'm sure you've discussed many times on this show. Reverse mortgages are so misunderstood.
I know.
So many applicants that I've spoken to recently that are 62 or older that have called in or reached out to my website for a refinance on a traditional forward mortgage that I've brought up, and I've said, hey, has anybody spoken to you about a reverse mortgage? I without exaggeration, I would say 90% of the time their reaction is not just negative, but fiercely negative. Oh, no, I don't want a reverse mortgage. It's terrible. So I simply ask, if you don't mind, can I just take 30 seconds?
That's
Can
good.
you tell me what you don't like?
Yeah.
And many times they come up with information or feelings or interpretations that are just outright wrong. Just they don't understand that they still maintain the ownership of their home.
Right.
They don't understand that when they do die and the loan comes due, that their heirs have up to a year to repay that loan.
Right.
They don't understand that their heirs get to keep 100% of the equity, that it works just like any kind of a loan, that when somebody dies and there's property that they own and there's a mortgage on it, that mortgage has to be addressed in order to be able to proceed with the liquidation of that property moving into it.
Most people just think, well, I've got a Bank of America or Wells Fargo loan, so my kids will just, no problem. It just becomes their loan. Well, it's not quite that simple, is it?
No. And in fact, as I say, just like with a reverse mortgage, when the borrower passes, that loan becomes due and payable. And so it's something that has to be addressed, and a reverse mortgage really is no different. And there's so many benefits with respect to that reverse mortgage, because the borrower, as I'm sure you've said so many times, has the option to make a fully amortizing payment, has the option to make the payment of interest or a portion thereof, or has the option for the rest of their life to never make a mortgage payment ever again. And all they've got to do is be current on their taxes, their property taxes, be current on their homeowner's insurance premium, and maintain the home. And the bar for maintaining the home is pretty low. What I tell people is basically you just have to make sure it doesn't get red tagged, that it remains habitable.
Right.
And that is not something that is fairly difficult to do. And you get to choose if you want to never make a mortgage payment for the rest of your life. The missed payments get added to the unpaid principal balance of the loan. But for so many of my borrowers that I've given a reverse mortgage to, I'll have them and provide to them amortization tables to compare what their cash outflow is and the diminishment of their wealth by having a forward mortgage versus how their wealth accrues with a reverse mortgage where they no longer have the need to make a mortgage payment.
Right. And there's so many instances where you can actually increase your legacy because you have a reverse mortgage. There's way to protect your portfolio, not mine, because mine's just pictures, but you know, other people's. I don't know if you ever saw some of the presentations by Philip Walker from FAR. If not, I can send them to you, but he's really good with financial planning. He's not a financial planner himself, so he's never in competition, but just shows how that worked and how people with the reverse mortgage, usually on these Monte Carlo models, will almost always end up better over a 30-year period than if they had not. And the financial planners make a whole lot more money for their custodial fees. But that's, that's another thing. And as far as the kids are concerned, I have a question for an attorney, but I think it's too much for the time we have left. I think it's pretty true that, and of course you should always, disclaimer wise here, should always check with someone like John at the time. But if you do pass away and you haven't made payments, either principal or interest, for 30 years, your kids can take advantage because they're the ones that are going to pay it off. So I think you have to take it out of the trust at that point. But if they're the ones that are paying off the interest, they also get the write-off for all that 30 years of interest, which should make a huge dent in capital gains and things like that. But I think that's a more complicated question than right now. But I do think it's usually true.
Yeah, and that's not so much for an attorney as it is for a CPA, certified public accountant. And I know from the experience that I have, it also comes to whether the reverse mortgage holder has taken any advantage of any of that mortgage credit or mortgage interest payment. So, but if it's never been taken by them, then yes, absolutely, it's available. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I have a friend he just moved to Beverly Hills, having some trouble on his condo getting that because he loves the heck'em, but he has very little training in finance. He retired from the World Bank, so that was the finance part was a joke, but he knows what he's doing, and he loves reverse mortgages. So, he had to pay. He actually went and paid interest for 1 year because he figured between him and his CPA that he would save tax money that particular year only if he did so.
Yeah, because it depends on your tax bracket. When you mentioned that your friend has a condo now, that's another thing that I found that some of my applicants didn't know is that there are people that I've come across that were interested in a reverse mortgage, never got one because their condo was not approved, and is unaware that now you could get a single unit approval, which more often than not will be granted. So that these homeowners that are 62 or older can take advantage of this government entitlement, which is really what mortgage is.
And some of the what we call now proprietary loans, we used to call them jumbos because they were only for more expensive homes, but now they kind of cross each other at certain points. Some of them don't need any more approval than just a normal Fannie Freddie approval on the condo. And that really helps. And as far as going way out, they have loan amounts up to $4 million on some of those. And if you want to do something really nice for your legacy, take out the $4 million, like someone did here over near the Ritz-Carlton, and buy your kids a couple of houses.
Yeah. exactly.
I
It's
tried to get one from him, but he agreed that I looked more like his father than his sons. So.
Yeah, it's and that's another thing where people don't realize is that you can use a reverse mortgage to purchase a property.
Oh yeah.
Which sometimes when you're sitting on and have some liquidity, you have some cash, but you were unable to invest in a home, that you could use some of that equity or even the equity from the house if you're downsizing right now. Keep that cash and purchase it. Don't use all of the equity from your current home that you sell as you downsize, but use only a portion of it and get a reverse mortgage for the remainder.
Right. Now, I'm going to repeat something to you may be able to use in your new business, because I thought this was brilliant, and you would know how to translate this to a client. But I met with several financial planners a few years ago, and one of them had just retired. He lived in northern San Diego County, and he retired, and when he told his peers, that is, other financial planners, that he was buying his retirement home with a reverse mortgage, they said, "Why on earth would you do anything like that?" And his answer was, "I just paid 30 years worth of rent in advance and still have a call option on the property."
Yeah,
So
great
you
way
can
to put
explain all that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, there's just so many benefits. And one of the last things, I know we only have a few minutes, and I heard prior to my coming on the show, you were talking about interest rates. Whether it's a reverse mortgage or forward mortgages, I do believe that interest rates will remain low for the foreseeable future, 2021 to even 3. Because even though people are predicting that interest rates will increase as we come out with a vaccine and the economy starts to improve, I think that there's going to be such a weight dragging the economy that we're going to have some time period. Another thing out there, just for the nerds that might be listening. Is
thank you for listening. I think you're the first one in all these years who actually did that. So thank you.
You're welcome. But for the nerds out there, I believe that we are following the Japanese model. And what I mean by that is, if you look historically at the percentage of gross domestic product, GDP, was attributable to government spending. Today in Japan, it's well over 200%. But if you go back before Japanese interest rates went to zero, like they have here in the United States, there's a similarity between the growth of government spending. And we don't need to discuss the wisdom or lack thereof of the growth in government spending. It is a fact. Today, we're hovering around 38%, which is historical highs. And I think that if you make that analogy, that's another reason why interest rates will stay relatively low.
Yes, you know what? You are correct. I put that question mark in my other part to get people to think more and more about reverse mortgages, but they shouldn't need those things. They should be asking themselves these questions all the time, but we don't. Some of them, when we talk about life insurance, we don't want to talk about that. When we talk about what if this happens, what if that happens, sometimes you need to, and you just need to be more prepared.
Absolutely. And again, the reason why I mentioned about the rates is, as I'm sure you've mentioned on the show many times, with a reverse mortgage, you do have the option of getting a fixed rate. But when you get a fixed rate, you deny yourself the other unbelievable benefit of having a line of credit that continues to grow as you age. And that's available to you again without ever having to make a payment on that line of credit either. And so that's why when I've talked with some of my borrowers where they're so pre-programmed to fixed rate, if I am correct that interest rates will remain relatively low, there's such benefits to getting that adjustable rate now. And then you could also do, the last reverse mortgage I did just about a month ago was a refinance. a reverse mortgage. So you could get a adjustable reverse mortgage now, and then in the future, if you feel nervous about it, refinance it into a fixed rate.
Yeah, I
reverse
think if you've had it a few years, you'll probably lose a lot of that nervousness. I haven't had I haven't had a fixed rate loan since the middle 80s or so, and I'm very happy with it. And we have only 1 minute, but I want to thank you for one more thing you said. You talked about before there were FICO scores. Nobody else seems to remember that, and that makes me feel so old, but you did. And within this minute, go ahead, please. Give out all your contact information.
Sure. Once again, it's Jon, Jon Daurio, Daurio. My company is Nickel Home Loans, Nikkael. My telephone number is 888-715-0001. And I hope to hear from you.
And please call Jon. If you miss his number or whatever, you know where to find it on my site. Call me. I give out my regular phone all the time, and it's maybe because I'm too old to try to keep track of two phones, but I know Jon will answer it for you. So, Jon, thank you so much. You've been great, really great. The half hour flew by. Sean, thank you very much. And as Groucho once said, I'm not crazy about reality, but it's still the only place to get a decent meal. And remember, Kaplan will be here on the same corner in front of the cigar store next week. Everybody, please take care of yourselves, and thank you.